It should come as no surprise to viewers of this channel that Uncle Buck is one of my favorite comedies. I used it as the overall theme for a video profile I did on John Candy's career last year, and I've even covered the short-lived 90s sitcom that was based on the movie.
Who's living life to his own kind of rhythm? It's Uncle Buck.
Outside of that, I haven't talked too much directly about the movie itself though. To me, it will always be John Candy's best role. A role that allowed him to be funny and charming, but also heartwarming and real.
Uncle Buck was a perfect Candy script for me to direct because he put himself into it. When he got in the car, there's a scene where he gets in the car, he's going to take the kids to the racetrack, and he knows it's wrong. He's in the car, and he looks in the rearview mirror, and he sees these two sweet little kids that he's going to take to the track while he meets his gangster buddies, and they bet. And he can't do it. And I know when he was doing that scene, that when he looked in the mirror, you know, he wasn't looking at two little actors, he was looking at two real kids. I mean, that was him, the father.
It's a movie that I always find new things to connect with, especially as I get older. It's also just a great John Hughes story, combining elements from his adult and family comedies with elements of some of his teen dramas. The script, which was tailor-made for Candy by Hughes, came about after the two became close friends while working on Planes, Trains, and Automobiles in 1987, followed by The Great Outdoors in 1988. For this collaboration, though, Hughes and Candy would get to work one-on-one like they never had before, bouncing ideas off one another during late-night writing sessions, as well as coming up with new material on set. As a result, the first cut of the movie was actually double the length of the final cut.
You ever hear of a tune-up?
You ever hear of a ritual killing?
Aside from a few still images and trailer clips, none of this footage has been seen publicly. In November, I took a look at the lost 3-hour version of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and the fan interest in the topic completely blew me away. It also became clear that most John Hughes movies originally had a way longer first cut, as he always encouraged his actors to improvise and come up with new routines on set. So I found it only fitting to revisit another Hughes-Candy collaboration that also had a longer first cut originally. Much like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I'll be using the script, original trailer, and behind-the-scenes footage to paint a picture of the original cut of this movie. And unlike Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, the material cut from Uncle Buck didn't necessarily transform the overall structure of the movie. It just expanded upon some ideas, routines, and characters that are in the finished film. So let's take a look back at this lost version of Uncle Buck. For those of you who haven't seen Uncle Buck, which I'm going to assume isn't many if you're watching this video, the plot is pretty simple. But don't take it from me. Here's the man himself to give you the rundown on the plot.
Uncle Buck is a fellow from Chicago living right across the road from Wrigley Field. He's faced with the dilemma of going to work for his girlfriend, played by Amy Madigan.
You're gonna show up for work, you swear to God, in the AM? Promise?
Shanice, I'll be honest with you. If I could think of an excuse that you would buy, I'd use it. When he gets a call in the middle of the night from his brother that saves him, he has to go look after his nieces and nephew.
Who are you?
I'm your Uncle Buck.
Do I have an uncle?
Unfortunately.
It's quite an adventure for Buck being in the suburbs. He, I think, really enjoyed it. Yo, Bobby! Buck? Bob?
Now, in the final cut of the movie, Buck arrives at his brother's house in suburbia at night, and gets a quick rundown of all he needs to know by his reluctant sister-in-law, Cindy.
Do you have a plunger here? While I'm thinking of these things, for the morning, you know, my plumbing is just so bad. Well, of course, yours is good plumbing here, right? Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, just don't worry about it. You know, everything will be fine.
There's also a great exchange in the script that was ultimately cut that reads, "The kids are going to tell you 90% of what you need to know anyway. They can take care of themselves for the most part." Right. You You have to drive Tia to school in the morning, and Miles and Maisie. Maisie's the dog? She's the 6-year-old. Right. As well as another fun exchange that made it into the trailer, but not the movie.
I won't let him get into that Satan stuff or any of the new chicks. I'll leave that for me.
The dialogue that made it into the finished film is fitting enough, but it's also really fun to see these alternative lines and ad-libs. In the movie, we then quickly cut to the following morning. In the script, though, Buck explores the house some more that night, admiring all the fancy gadgets in the master bathroom, in a sequence that I assume was filmed, as in the trailer we get a brief scene of Buck shaving, resulting in some small injuries. The next morning, Buck makes his nieces and nephew a big breakfast that they all refuse to eat.
Holy smokes. He's cooking our garbage.
Now, in the finished film, we never get to see exactly what's on the plate, and I've always been curious as to what it was. Going back to the script, though, Hughes lays it out in perfect detail. Close up, plate. The grapefruit half, very dry scrambled eggs with bits of bologna, chunks of onion, and green pepper.
Just for you.
Oh my God. He put onions in the eggs.
It makes a lot more sense why the entire family is grossed out by the sight of this meal. So those were pretty minor differences between the script and the film. Let's look at something a little more substantial. One of the big differences between the script and the film is a cut story arc centered around Macaulay Culkin's character of Miles. He's having a lot of trouble fitting in, and can't seem to make any new friends at his school. In the movie, he doesn't really get a character arc, but in the script, through Buck's intervention, he inadvertently becomes the most popular guy at school. There's a scene where he unpacks a lunch that Buck made him to reveal, amongst other things, a can of sardines and a jar of milk. But this joke didn't stop there. Every day from there on out, Buck sends Miles to school with even more ridiculous lunch options in the script, including a rack of ribs in a Ziploc bag. These lunches start to make other kids take an interest in Miles like never before, anticipating a new reveal each day. A massive crowd around Miles' table. He's rather enjoying his odd celebrity. He opens a sandwich, checks the interior, and reports to the crowd. Tuna. No mayonnaise. The crowd burst into applause. There's also another trailer shot that gives a clue that more was shot for this sequence as well. Aside from this, the biggest thing Buck does to help Miles is his assault of Pooter the Clown.
Get in your mouse and get out of here.
In the finished cut of the film, at Miles' birthday party, Buck announces that a clown is on the way.
Miles's mom hired a clown.
Oh!
What's the matter? You don't like clowns?
Yeah, about 5 years ago. Now they're so boring they make me puke.
I always found their reaction to be a bit odd, especially the cut to Miles to show his look of disappointment. In the script, Buck takes note of his nephew's disapproval and adds, "Are clowns uncool? I'm dying about having a clown. My mom did it without even asking me. She's spending a lot of money to make me feel like a baby." Close up Buck. He takes special note of the remark. There is a lot of information in it, although it's not yet clear to him how to use it. He quickly departs the subject. "What are you guys into? Strippers?" It's not unheard of. Pooter the Clown, played by Mike Starr, then shows up late and drunk, leading to a confrontation between him and Buck, which then ends after 2 punches, as we smash cut to the next scene. In the script, though, the clown and Buck get into an all-out brawl on the front lawn, with Buck even attacking the mouse car that the clown arrived in as he drives away. This results with all the partygoers leaping to the window with excitement to watch. Your uncle's beating the crap out of the clown. This is so cool. Close up Miles. He's proud of Buck, strange as his behavior is. Later in the film, when Buck is feeling pretty down, Miles opens up and talks about all the positive things that his uncle has recently done for his life. There's only a still image that exists from this scene, and it looks to have been pretty heartwarming. I was just sort of nothing. My mom sent out a ton of birthday invitations, and I only got 5 guys. That's not so great. But then you stomped the clown, and everybody who didn't go wished they did because it's so rare that clowns get their butts overhauled. And every day at lunch, everybody hangs out with me to see what kind of weird stuff you gave me to eat. I gave you weird stuff? But that's good because my whole class hung out with me just to see it was in my lunch. And they got a chance to meet you and know what a good guy you are, so that's nothing to worry about. That's something to be happy about. But I'll still miss you. Another character who had more screen time cut was that of Marcy, the divorced neighbor who hits on Buck. Marcy first meets Buck when she comes over looking for his sister-in-law.
Dahlgren is my maiden name. Frost is my married name. I'm single again, but I never bothered to lose the Frost. And I get compliments on the hyphen.
Sure you would, yeah.
In the script, though, Buck later runs into Marcy at the grocery store. She then goes on to confess her attraction to Buck, in another exchange that made it into the trailer.
And I want to ask you why I'm so attracted to you.
I wouldn't even guess at that.
Again, it's not that this scene is totally needed, but I just love Laurie Metcalf in this movie, and I would have loved to see more scenes of her and Buck together. Now, the last evidence of a missing segment that I could find proves to be one of the biggest mysteries surrounding the lost footage. There was a sequence shot at an actual Chicago Blackhawks game where John Candy took to the ice in character to partake in a shoot-the-puck contest. John Hughes' son James wrote about this lost sequence back in 2013, saying, "The game between the Blackhawks and Candy's hometown Toronto Maple Leafs was played on New Year's Day 1989, a week before principal photography on Uncle Buck began. It's possible the shoot was simply part of the pre-production process of gathering test footage. I recall my father explaining that the character was going to ask Buck what the greatest moment of his life was, and it would cut to him making a shot during the Blackhawks shoot-the-puck contest, held between periods at every home game. If Candy made this shot, perhaps they'd use the footage in the final cut. He didn't prevail, despite the overwhelming encouragement from the crowd. When I found an album of production photographs documenting that game, which I attended, it was like finding the blueprint to a dream." James's quest to find this lost footage has since proved unsuccessful. I will point out that the outfit that John Candy wears in this deleted sequence is the very same outfit he wears at the end of the movie, further adding to the mystery of when this deleted scene would have taken place.
Hi, honey. Is the coffee ready? A little thirsty.
When looking back at these 1980s comedies, it's practically guaranteed that all of them have cut footage. I only wish that some of these deleted scenes would be released, even out of context, as a bonus feature on a remastered release. The DVDs and Blu-rays available of Uncle Buck have no special features. There's more available on YouTube than there is officially released by Universal. And I don't expect these film studios to release early cuts of movies that are over 30 years old, but I just wish these films and their lost footage would be preserved with higher standards. In losing the footage like that of the hockey game especially, we are losing a part of history. I mean, and who wouldn't want to see more footage of John Candy? The fact that we have hours of unseen footage of him rotting in a film vault somewhere, it's just kind of heartbreaking. As I said at the end of my video on planes, trains, and automobiles, I'm thankful we have these movies at all. The desire to see these deleted scenes is only a testament to what great and memorable films they truly are.